Very difficult ascension for Armstrong. He's going to have to go out and get his rhythm sorted out in the first 1.5 kilometers. When you ride an individual time trial as Armstrong rolls down the ramp now, you know after the first kilometer whether or not you're in a good day or not.
You do indeed. Armstrong is away now. Everybody in the Tour de France is either on the road, in the hotels, or finished the day. But now Jan Ullrich, the next time we'll know exactly how his climbing will come at 9.5 kilometers. Armstrong is away, as always, set and determined, riding down the center of the road, looking straight ahead. This crowd who has waited for a week to see the Tour de France are now seeing the departure of the last man of 157, as shortly Armstrong will begin his climb of the Alpe. Guarini, let us not forget, is the best man at the penultimate check and is second at the finish.
I don't really think we need to pay too much attention to the first time check at 1.5 kilometers. Ullrich went through there in a time of 2 minutes and 2 seconds. It's really the time check at 9.5 kilometers which is going to be the most important. Basso, by the way, just went through there with the 13th fastest time, and that was 2 minutes and 6 seconds. But it's on the slopes when the time gaps are really going to appear. Ivan Basso here, Phil, probably riding the most important time trial of his career. Just as a point of interest, in the individual time trial in May in the Dauphiné Libéré, he lost 5 minutes to Lance Armstrong in 17.5 kilometers.
Well, there's even a Polish flag flying there on the left, and as we're watching now, Ivan Basso continue his way up the mountain. And don't forget, you're watching a commercial-free half hour brought to you by Powerbar. As the riders are all out on course now. Stefan Guber had a great Tour de France for AG2R as he heads up towards the finish. And just look at this, Paul. Here we go. Guber just slipping away slightly, but continues a superb Tour de France for this man and for his team, AG2R. As he comes up to the line now, he's 21st overall at the start of the day, and this sort of a performance could see him go up 1 or 2 places. As Guber hits the line now, and Guber in fact starting behind Oscar Sevilla, who is now behind him, so he's taken him.
Well, Sevilla not having a great Tour de France. I think somewhat demoralised by the fact that his team leader Tyler Hamilton had to abandon the race. But the battle really, Phil, is here at the back, wearing number 1. This man has ridden the Alpe d'Huez on so many occasions. There's a lot of people out here. They're getting out of the way at the last possible moment. Armstrong is completely and utterly ignoring them. He's leaving the responsibility of the spectators to get out of the way just before he gets there.
He's just gone through that, what we call the no helpful 1.5 kilometer check in 9th place, 4 seconds behind Cancellara, who's now washed away in the center of the result board, 3 seconds behind Jan Ullrich, which might be a guide.
I don't really think we need to take much attention to that first 1.5 kilometer time check, because the big time differences are going to be on the slopes of the mountain from what I call kilometer 0, when the race just kicks up towards the skies. And the first 500 meters of this climb are unbelievably difficult. They're straight up in front of you. You maybe won't get that scared here this afternoon because you won't really see the incline because of the crowd that have turned out to see this race.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Everybody's stretching here to look. This is Vladimir Karp. He should see a new best time here now. See if he can produce the great ride he's threatened to do throughout the race. He might just have enough time there to go over Santos Gonzalez as he lines up for the finish. Can see the clock. That's enough enthusiasm from him to kick out of that corner. He's got just 10 seconds to get to the line now, but I think Vladimir Karp is going to make it. It'll be desperately close when we talk in tenths of a second in this climb of Alpe d'Huez. It's going to be that close. He is going to hit the line outside. Can you believe that? He's slowed toward the end. 3rd place at the moment, 41.56. And remember, he's battling out the white jersey between Sandy Cassar and Thomas Vogler. Currently, he's 3rd in that competition.
Very good ride by this young man. He posted fast times out on the course, and he really wanted to finish it off. He realizes today's a big chance for him to take time back on Cassar, on Vogler. We're back with Armstrong, last man on the road. He knows this climb intimately. He's been here so many times over the last few months. He came here in May to ride. Get out of the way, please.
Armstrong on the climb, and the crowd have cut down the width of the road of Alpe d'Huez now by more than 75%, I would think. But still, in what other sporting event do you get this close to your favourite bike rider? Armstrong still going in that fast cadence as he climbs. This is Carlos Sastre also leaving his mark along the way. I don't think it'll be best time. It will be very close to the time of Vladimir Karpits. These riders are going quicker and quicker now as they arrive at the checkpoints. And as he comes under that banner, he's going to go through in second best time. 25 minutes and 3 seconds. So Carlos Sastre also thinking of the team award for Team CSC. Well, at the finishing line where all of the effort is over and the nervous waiting begins, it is still a Santos Gonzalez, a fraction of a second, just on the 45/100th over Guerini. Vladimir Karpits is slotted in third place. Moncucci, who was the leader, is down to fourth, and Stefan Guber is fifth. Michael Rogers holding a fifth place equal at the moment.
Just look at the back of Armstrong there, just at the bottom of that yellow section of jersey. There's a small square box. That's his on-board radio. He's getting information all of the time relayed to him in his helmet. The helmet, in fact, has a built-in earpiece to let him know what the time gaps are of all of the riders up the road. We've only got 3 time checks on the open road at 1.5 kilometers, 9.5 and 12.5. But I'll be absolutely certain Armstrong has got some men out on the course taking time checks at different points to know just exactly how the other favourites are faring.
Norwegian flag on the right. Their champion of Norway is finished, Thor Hushoff, but it looks as though Ullrich is not very far away now from that 9.5 kilometre check. Meanwhile, Lance Armstrong, much the smoother rider of the two, isn't he? Using his whole body here, but keeping his gears low, where we've seen how Ullrich appears to be going much slower because of the slower pedalling cadence.
He really does change that pedalling cadence to an unbelievably efficient style. When he was a young rider, I remember Lance, when he turned professional back in 1992 after the Olympic Games in Barcelona, he used to climb on force, as they say in professional cycling. He used to climb with big gears. But the problem with climbing with big gears is you cannot recuperate throughout the day. You can do it for 1 climb or 2 climbs, but you cannot do it for 6 climbs. He went away after cancer and developed this high pedaling cadence that he's got, which is really very much only his own ability to do that, and he's turned it into something that damns his competitors to 2nd or 3rd or 4th place.
Specially designed skin suit here. It just about stretches over his body, but it breathes as well. As he now continues, probably the lightest bike of the whole of the last of the riders to go. Further up the climb is Ullrich, and he must be getting desperately close now to the first check of the day, because 147 riders have gone through there. As Sastre wasn't the best time there. In fact, Karpits still holds the best time at 9.5, 24 minutes and 56 seconds.
Interesting to note there that this man here, Jan Ullrich, has got clip-on bars in the centre. I can't see any of the other major contenders have actually opted for the aerodynamic clip-ons in the centre of their machines. Ivan Basso now going around this small corner. In a moment's time, he will be able to look up and see the finishing town of Alpe d'Huez right up in front of him. But unfortunately, it is still an awful long way to go.
Well, there's an awful lot of riders getting up in just over 41 minutes at the moment of Alpe d'Huez. It is quite incredible how quickly they really are climbing. We anticipated a finishing time of 40 for the top man. It's going to be a special time if it is now. This is Mancebo. Terrifically solid tour for Francisco Mancebo. Lost again a little bit yesterday.
Levi Leipheimer has just gone through the 9.5 kilometre time check there with a time which is 11th currently, 46 seconds slower than Vladimir Karpits, who went through in 24:56.
So as we're looking now at the riders going up the mountain, let's have a look what the mountain itself looks like. It starts easy enough in the valley, but then we just go straight up the mountain. It's got all of these bends on it, 21 corners, every one of them today lined with the people. There's no real respite once you get to the village of Huez. You look up and it's 3 miles or 5 kilometres still to climb, but that's the first time you will see the chalets of Alpe d'Huez. It gets no easier, and the crowd only gets bigger and the shouting gets louder. And Lance Armstrong closing down today's stage of the Tour de France as he sweeps up from the last position. And we're waiting for time checks now, which will give us all of the answers. Leipheimer has gone through, still only 11th at the 9.5 kilometre check.
Armstrong is not doing anything at all to slow down his pedaling revolutions here. He's going nice and fast. He's probably dreaming about the top 5 kilometres when he will get into an area where the race has been barriered off and he will have space to breathe. He will have space not to worry about the competitors the spectators running alongside him. The big battle this afternoon is basically between two men as far as I'm concerned. Number 61 here, Ivan Basso, who since the start of this race has only been separated in time from Lance Armstrong on the prologue time trial and in the team time trial as well. He's separated by Armstrong in the overall classification by 1 minute and 25 seconds. It's going to be interesting to see what that is by the end of today.
And Basso and Armstrong are very good friends indeed. They're on rival teams, and of course they both want to win the Tour de France, so the friendship is over. They are one-on-one now. May the best man take the race lead, and that race lead today is on the shoulders of Lance Armstrong. What a horrible position to be in. 2 minutes ahead of the greatest bike rider the Tour de France has known for years, and by Sunday might be the greatest it has ever known. And this rider having to ride the mountain now, knowing that Armstrong is behind him. Armstrong starts the day 1 minute and 25 seconds ahead overall on Basso, 3 minutes 22 on Andries Kloden, a massive 5:39 on Mancebo, and 6 minutes 54 on Jan Ullrich. Those are big gaps, and today Armstrong's ambition will be to prize them open even more. And at the moment it looks as though, according to this graphic, he is moving slightly ahead.
Well, that's a virtual time gap between the two. Armstrong on the left-hand side and Ivan Basso. 1 minute 25 at the start of the day. Currently, if we stop the race now, it would be 1 minute and 44. That's not a really exact time measurement. It's coming to us because of our ability to use GPS on the two motorbikes that are following these riders.
Yes, but it gives us a good guidance that in fact it does appear that Armstrong is slightly up in these first crucial opening kilometres on Alpe d'Huez. And I'm sure that Johan Brunel would have conveyed that information to Armstrong. Here is Jan Ullrich now. We're waiting for him to get up to the check. And we've had 149 riders through there at the moment. We've just seen, well, we didn't just see, but he's gone through. Cocchioli has gone through, 16th time for him. 53 seconds slower than still the best time at that point of Vladimir Karpitz. Ullrich might reshape a little bit when he gets there.
It's a big, powerful man, Jan Ullrich. You can see he's gripping onto those bars in the centre. I'm not sure that that's a very good idea in a mountain time trial like this. He could be much better served by having his arms out towards the extremities of his handlebars, and that would permit him to open his chest that little bit more and to breathe. The aerodynamic position is not really that important in a race like this because you're only riding at an average speed of about 22 kilometers an hour, 12.5 or 13 miles an hour. Ullrich has the heaviest bike, but interestingly enough, he has the longest cranks on his bicycle too. 177 millimeters his cranks are, and that German supporter there, I think, was just slowing him down in the corners.
Oh, that's crazy. That's not what you want to see. He should be out of the way. I don't know where he gets his strength from actually to run so far. But that's not what you want to see, running in front of the rider. He had no idea where the rider was. He can't sight his line, and for the mental application to the job in hand, it is very, very disturbing. But it's the pressure of the day, it's the pressure of the Tour de France, and it's the pressure of being the first time ever that the race has time trialled up this mountain, and it is something the crowd has wanted for years, and they've come in their thousands. Almost 1 million of them are cheering these riders up the mountain.
What I think is incredible about this event, Phil, is that if you look at the different flags that are being supported at the side of the road, the Basques, the Germans, the French, they're all cheering every rider who's trying to get up this mountain. There's no question of choosing your own nationality and not cheering the other bike riders. Everyone is cheering the bike riders of the Tour de France here.
They are, because they admit to the effort that the riders are making. We've heard the conversations going on between riders of supporters of Ullrich only before I came onto the comedy position. I heard an Armstrong supporter talking to an Ullrich supporter, and the German says, he said, but Armstrong is better than Jan Ullrich, but we're still going to cheer for Ullrich, and that's fair enough.
Riis coming into the finishing straight, and it's not one of the best times in the world, but I think it will be one of the best crowd cheers that we've received so far, because this man is a very popular bike rider in France, on his way to a little record of his own too. He could most likely take that polka dot jersey to Paris for the 7th time.
His face, has he been out for the ride? I'm not too sure he's even started yet as he comes up here to claim about a top 25 finish. Almost a casual approach to the day, because tomorrow, watch out for Richard Viron. He'll be off on an early attack because he could wipe out everybody in that mountains competition tomorrow. From Veron at the top to Armstrong now at the bottom. Voigtler, by the way, has gone through Paul the first check. 84th position, 2 minutes down.
2 minutes 39 seconds to be precise. This young man, I think he's lost a lot of his energy over the last few days. He battled so much, he turned his body inside out so much that now he's going to have to pay the bill of all of the energy that he's used. Check this out, if you wouldn't mind, at 9.5 kilometers. This is a teammate of Lance Armstrong, an unbelievable bike rider, but I think, Phil, earlier in the year we said watch out for Jose Acevedo, and I think we were right.
As we switch to the finish, Christophe Moreau currently in 9th place as he races towards the line. A good but not great ride for Christophe. He's done this before. He is a solid climber, and it's a good finish nonetheless. 10th place for Christophe Moreau for the moment, 43.06. So now we have another US postal rider locked in #1 spot at 9.5 kilometers. Jose Acevedo is now 16 seconds quicker than Carpets. Now the arrival of Ullrich and the proximity of Ullrich, I think, is going to give us a best time here. As Ullrich starts to go, there's the clock. He's got to get around the corner to it. But Jan Ullrich, who looks to be just lumbering up the climb like a steamroller, is actually riding very, very quickly indeed.
Look at the time to beat Jose Acevedo, 24.40. He's got a minute to stop that clock, Jan Ullrich. He's going to stop it well inside of that. He may well look like he's lumbering, and he may well look like a steamroller, but this man is sheer power. He climbs, as the French say, en force. He uses a massive gear and just rolls it over. The big difficulty is when the incline gets steeper, he's not able to produce the effort. This looks to me, Phil, as if we're going to see a replay of the Champs Rouge time trial in 2001. Best time for Ullrich.
You might be right. 24.07 for Jan Ullrich. So the Kaiser is firing on all guns now as he continues on the climb. Look at that face. Ullrich, I think, was a bit offended when people started saying that he was no longer had a love for the bicycle and he was fast falling out of love with the Tour de France. Well, the last 2 days, I think he's changed his mind. In Champs Rouge, Armstrong won, Ullrich was second at 1 minute, Andries Kloden washed away to almost 5. I think Kloden will be a lot closer this time. Back to Lance Armstrong, lower down, sweeping up now.
Further down the slopes, exactly the same pedaling style. You know, look at the way he goes around these corners. He knows this race intimately. Even though he said that the Tour de France wouldn't be won on the slopes of the Alpe d'Huez, he spent a lot of time. When he heard from the race organisation in the month of October last year that the Alpe d'Huez was going to be an individual time trial, I think he wanted it at that moment, and he's worked to that aim ever since. In about 10 minutes' time, we'll know if he's going to do it.
Next man to arrive will be Mancebo. This is Kloden we're looking at the moment. And I think we'll see a very good time here from Andries Kloden as we continue. And this will be a very good ride. These are the flying legs of Lance Armstrong. And don't forget, you are watching a commercial-free half hour brought to you by Power Bar. As Lance Armstrong pedals that low gear and the high cadence. And already through is Ullrich laying down the gauntlet. His arch rival again is saying, you're not getting rid of me as easy as that. Well, this is Ullrich still living with life, a little bit of a way up the road. The next man to go through the 9.5 kilometer check will be Francisco Mancebo. And that's, of course, what we will want to see if Mancebo is staying in the picture on this race. Ullrich would like to get over the top of him. At the 9.5 kilometer check, Ullrich is ahead in 24.07. Acevedo is second. Vladimir Karpic, who rests with the third best time on top of the mountain behind Santos Gonzalez and Giuseppe Guerini, had the third best time there. This is Rasmussen sprinting around the corner. Looks as though Pereiro has caught him here, and Pereiro has gone over the top of him, so Rasmussen has lost 2 minutes here. And Pereiro coming in for a 7th best finish. Oscar Pereiro, again, another teammate of Tyler Hamilton, who trained so well to be alongside Hamilton in this Tour de France. Sadly, Hamilton not able to get as far as the Alpe. And so Pereiro done well still.
A chance here to look at Armstrong's bike here. Weighs in at just outside of 6.8 kilos. And he hasn't got clip-on bars like Jan Ullrich. Looking down through the crowd, this is Francisco Mancebo. This is the intermediary point at Huez-en-Oison. The difficult thing I think about this time check here is for when you go around that corner to the time check and you just raise your head upwards, you can see the finishing line at the Alpe d'Huez right up in the summit of the climb, cradled in the middle of this crater of mountains, and you realize I've still got to get up there and I've still got about 20 minutes to go.
Massive. He's even taking time for a drink there. This is not a great ride by Mancebo, the white jersey winner of the Tour de France in the year 2000, and he's finished the best position of 7th. Well, he was 10th overall last year, and he's going to go through slightly behind that position on the stage today as he comes up to the line. He is actually showing signs of cracking in the Tour de France, I think, Mancebo. He missed the move yesterday, and now he's falling away from the big boys at this sort of a time here at 9.5 kilometers.
Next man to get to that time check is going to be this man, the champion of Germany, dubbed as possibly the replacement leader for T-Mobile, Andreas Klöden. He was a man who a few years ago we really tipped for stardom when he won Paris-Nice in a very dominant fashion. Since then he's struggled to try and keep himself at the top end of the overall classification in any bike race. But I think here he's actually riding into a different part of his career. And look at this, not too far away from his leader.
He's catching Mancebo here too, because he's coming around for the check, and he's going to be second best time as he comes around. He might slip away slightly, but he's obviously eating into the start time of 2 minutes for Mancebo. Mancebo's having a poor ride. He's only gone through a minute 40 behind Jan Ullrich. Klöden goes through second best, just 27 seconds behind Jan Ullrich.
This is not the same Andreas Klöden who finished in 19th place in the Tour de France individual time trial to Champs way back in 2001. This is a completely different man. You look here at Armstrong, you can see the slightly different color of that skin suit down the sides. That's to allow his body just to breathe that little bit more, because these skin suits are aerodynamic. Gilberto Simoni now, he's never posted any fast times out on the course, but he is a great mountain climber.
Yes, well, he's still fighting for a reasonable position, but until he concentrates on the Tour de France, especially so, he's not going to get any further up the overall. A brilliant rider, as we know, in his home tour, the Tour of Italy. Twice the winner of that, second this year. He comes in there in 15th place. Well, this is the face of Andreas Klöden. Refound himself this year, well and truly. And he's looking for a podium finish now in Paris, and he knows a great ride today will probably give him it. He's got to survive an incredibly hard day tomorrow, there's no question of that. But he's gone through only 27 seconds behind the pace setter just now, Jan Ullrich. They're the first two. We're waiting for Basso. Basso looks as though he's riding pretty well here. Oh, this is Sastre, Carlos Sastre. We go further up the mountain. He is third and losing a little bit of ground, but he has been up on the leaderboard all of the way. This is going to do Team CSC the world of good for the team race, of which they are the current leaders. As he hits the line, he gets 5th best. 2:08.
Good ride by Carlos Sastre to keep himself well up there in the overall classification. Now this is the face of Ivan Basso. He will be coming up to the time check at 9.5 kilometers. We don't really have that much of a time check on Ivan Basso, but here for the first time we can see that he's rivaling the men at the top end of the overall classification. I think he will just possibly slip outside the time of Andreas Klöden, but he should be third, and that's an indication that he's handling this mountain well.
This is Basso, Ivan Basso now arriving at the first serious check of the day. Point number 2 at 9.5 kilometers, 4th only fastest. And Armstrong, I think, is not going to be that far behind, you know.
He's here.
Look at this as he's heading up to the same check. Ivan Basso could be giving away 2 minutes here in just about 10 kilometers. Here comes the man stamping on those pedals. Armstrong absolutely flying, pedaling like you would never believe, is about to go around that corner and set the best time. 24:07 is the best time of Jan Ullrich. Ivan Basso and his entourage have only just gone up and around that straight, as Lance Armstrong is going to stop the clock with the best time at this 23 minutes, and as he heads up towards the banner, about a half a minute. Let's see where he stops it now. Best time 23:28. Lance Armstrong is about to crown a wonderful day on Alpe d'Huez.
40 seconds faster than Jan Ullrich at this point, which is absolutely remarkable, and more than a minute already ahead of Ivan Basso. Jan Ullrich is still rolling up this mountain with the absolute power, which is his speciality. He's a strong bike rider. He's a beast of a man on a bike. He is riding with unbelievable strength. Compared to Armstrong, in fact, I would believe that Jan Ullrich develops a lot more power, but Armstrong's strength comes from his ability to use a very small gear and turn it over very quickly, very much like a motor racing car that can go up to high revolutions. He's got the ability to change his pedaling style and change his accelerations going around the corners. But look at his face, Phil. He wants this win.
Well, he's dreamed about it since the route was announced in October. There's no question about that. And the Maillot Jaune is now at the end of the first check the best time, 23:27. Jan Ullrich is at 24:7, 40 seconds behind him at 9.5 kilometers and 6 kilometers to ride. It's only 3.5 miles, but it's a mountain and it doesn't get easier.
That first time check there, the first serious time check, as I like to call it, at 9.5 kilometers. Armstrong has already beaten Ivan Basso by 1 minute and 15 seconds. And once he gets a little bit further up the mountain into this area here, he will be able to just see where the position is of Ivan Basso out onto the open road. This is Jan Ullrich. He's into the safer part of the course now, where he can ride and get himself into a rhythm. He always amazes me by the strength and determination that he puts in. Don't discount this man from finishing second. People tend to discount Jan Ullrich too easily. He is such a powerful bike rider. He's also a very brave and courageous champion.
Well, he's demonstrated that today by putting time into his younger teammate Andreas Kloden, who is slightly slower at that first check than him. And it looks like we're getting the collapse of Mancebo, which means that Ullrich could find himself in fourth and challenging his own teammate for the third place finish. But Basso could be cracking also big time and might be losing all of the gains. It's a bit different from holding on to a rider who's on your shoulder than having to go out and do it all by yourself. Basso could handle Armstrong, as he showed in the mountains over 3 days. They didn't gain a second. They finished alongside each other. But now it is a matter of the race of truth. It's all down to you and you alone. And right now, Armstrong is on a runaway. He is writing himself into the history books of the Tour de France. And when we look back with hindsight, it could be right here on Alpe d'Huez where he did it.
The amazing thing about the effort required in an individual time trial is you've really got to personally hurt your body. When you're riding up a mountain with somebody else, you can just try that little bit harder to stay in contact with them. But when you're on your own, the effort is multiplied probably by a factor of 5 or 6. Jan Ullrich, what an unbelievable reputation this man has had. What an unbelievable...
So the pain there on Jan Ullrich's face. 5 kilometers to go now for the Maillot Jaune. And with every pedal rev, I do believe he is gaining time over everybody in the Tour de France. Lance Armstrong stamping under the 5 kilometer to go banner, 3 miles from the summit. It can only be a matter of time now before he sees Ivan Basso. And this is Levi Leipheimer coming in at the summit of the mountain. It'll be a very respectable time for Levi. Remember, he is in the top 10 in the Tour de France and wants to go a little bit better than that. 43:47 is his finish time, 21st. He finished just moments ago. Back to the lower slopes of the mountain, inside that 5 kilometers to go now for Lance Armstrong. Ullrich is still setting the best time at 12.5 kilometers. He's gone through in 34:37 for Ullrich. Well, Ullrich is blazing the trail, which is being knocked out only by Armstrong, so it looks like the old rivalry has returned to the Tour de France. Ullrich has come back to a degree of fitness that can match almost everybody else. Basso, I think the longer this climb goes on, will find himself in that little bit more trouble, because there must be a slight draft up behind him right now, because I think the air of Armstrong is only a few seconds behind.
He will certainly be hearing the crowd just that little bit further back down the road cheering on Armstrong, and he will hear that roar actually approaching him, and that has got to be very bad for your psychology. Further up the road, though, Jan Ullrich is still looking comfortable. He'll look up at that banner, which will indicate to him it's not too far to go to the finish, just 2 kilometers. He's in the easiest part of the course here. It starts to level off. If he's feeling good, he can knock the gear ratio up just a fraction and start to roll that big gear, and that's his advantage. This is when we come into the terrain of Jan Ullrich, the way he can use massive gear. And look at this. This is a virtual time split. If we stop the race now, Armstrong would have a 3-minute and 3-second advantage over Ivan Basso in the overall occasion.
Which is absolutely enormous, of course. Lance Armstrong struggled, and yes, that was the word, struggled. He his final winning margin was just 61 seconds. And now he could be going away from the Alpe tonight with the best part of 4 minutes, because he's absolutely stomping up this hill at the moment. Ullrich is setting the best times ahead of him. Armstrong is improving them when he gets there. Andreas Kloden can't feel that safe from his own teammate Jan Ullrich either. Look at the face of this man now. He is over the top on the slightly easier road, and Paulie has slipped those gears up, and he is fighting for every second. This man has got courage, if nothing else.
He's a great bike rider. Don't discount him. You don't come to the Tour de France on 6 occasions and never finish lower than second if you don't have a big engine. And Jan Ullrich has a big engine. The fact that we're pulling out here indicates Armstrong is within sight of Ivan Basso. There is only 100 meters at 4 kilometers to go, separating Ivan Basso from Lance Armstrong. Phil, I told you this was going to happen this morning.
Well, we felt he wouldn't survive 2 minutes. Basso didn't ride well against Armstrong on Mont Ventoux in the Dauphiné, but Armstrong himself didn't ride particularly well on that occasion either. But now Armstrong is in his beloved Tour de France, and today I think he laid the foundations in the team time trial. But let's say he's laid the foundations here on Alpe d'Huez to win his record 6th Tour de France. There isn't a person on the Tour de France now, not even the riders, who believe they can stop this runaway. There is the relationship to the only man who could ride with Armstrong in the Pyrenees and on yesterday's mountain stage. And now they're free. Armstrong is catching him. This is Georg Tochnik coming up towards the line. He's 7th overall at the moment, and he's coming in with around the 9th best time. He'll just hang on. Santos Gonzalez still the leader at the finish, let us not forget, as Tochnik just about might hold on a place in the top 11. Wow, he almost hit the barriers, then he made such an effort. He's in with the 11th time just now.
I think he must have closed his eyes there as he was charging up to the finishing line. This is Jose Acevedo. Now this is a fabulous teammate. This is going to be a very good time. He's actually been posting the best times out on the course and then getting knocked off the top by a certain Jan Ullrich, and then knocked a little bit further back by his own team leader, Lance Armstrong.
For the moment, this will be the best time. Jose Acevedo comes up towards the finish now, the Portuguese rider who could be a top 3 finisher in his own right in the Tour de France, but he chose to race for Armstrong. Best for the moment, 41.26. Unbelievable ride by this young man, 22.45 kilometers an hour. Only a fraction of the average speed of Marco Pantani a few years ago. Armstrong has not yet closed down the gap between himself and Ivan Basso, but the team car, that black car you saw just disappearing around the corner, was the car of Ivan Basso, who started 2 minutes ahead of Lance. Manfell, he really got into the heart of the French public over the last 10 days. He's had a very difficult ascension here of the Alpe d'Huez. His face, when we see it full frontal like that, is a familiar one now, but I don't know if you can hear the crowd, but he's a lot of friends out there right now as Volkler comes up. Don't worry about his lowly position. This man has left his mark on the Tour de France, and that's the best cheer of the day for 80th place. For 80th place, but that's not what's important. This man has lived in the heart of the French public. Now look, coming into the finishing straight, this is going to be the new best time. Well, Ullrich. It's going to take away Acevedo's 41.26 pretty convincingly. Ullrich drives to the top for the man who's got so much power. We thought he was going to drop away from the Tour de France. In 2 days, he's put himself right back in it. 40.42, he finished like a sprinter. 40.42 for Jan Ullrich. Unbelievable, what a sprint, what a finish. He had a lot of power left towards the end. There is Ivan Basso. You can see his shoulders going down. The top half of his body is going from side to side. He's looking for more power. He's saying bridge to engine room, more power, but there is not any more power. Compare that to the style of the man behind him in the yellow jersey, bouncing on those pedals. You can feel the energy, you can feel the nervousness in Armstrong's pedaling action. He knows he's got this race in the bag. He wanted to catch the man who was 2 minutes in front of him. I wonder if he'll look across as he goes by. I wonder. Armstrong is now, exactly as they cross, 3 minutes 25 seconds in the lead in the Tour de France now. It's going to be more than that. A little glance there came from Basso. Nothing came from Armstrong. Armstrong remains concentrated. Basso trying to lift himself, as he has done on his shoulders over 3 great mountain days. But this time, I think those shoulders and legs are beginning to creak. an invidious position to start 2 minutes ahead of Armstrong. Armstrong is just cutting through the field.
This is the difference between riding on your own and riding in a group. Ivan Basso has been able to march himself against Lance Armstrong over these big mountain passes. He's been able to lift his pedaling style, lift his cadence, to stay in contact with the big man from Texas. But when you have to make that effort on your own in a solitary confinement, it is not the same man.
No, and look at those American flags flying high now, as they've done for 5 years past. And I think there'll be an awful lot in Paris now, because Armstrong is going to become the first man ever to win the Tour de France 6 times. I can't see anybody touching him. There's nobody left. One by one, he has destroyed them. And the man who dared to try and match him, he's just passed him.
Just past him. Look at that acceleration coming into the corner. He's coming up to the flatter part of the course, as he now knows he can lift up his acceleration. He can notch his gear ratio up a little bit more as he tries to pick himself up from what at the bottom of the climb was an average of 20 kilometers an hour. As we get into the town here of Alpe d'Huez, he will pick up his average speed to 23 or 24 kilometers an hour, which is really not very much at all.
No, it is not, is it? As the riders continue now up towards the finish of Alpe d'Huez. Remember, this is a commercial-free half hour brought to you by Power Bar. There is the view from a rider who is still second in the Tour de France, Armstrong, going into the distance. This is the moment now. Lance Armstrong, with every pedal rev, is going further ahead in the Tour de France. He was 3 minutes 25 up when he caught Ivan Basso. He's now 3 minutes 45 up and counting.
And counting. Look at the face, Phil. It's unbelievable, the concentration of this man. He's spent a lot of time this year going out onto the open roads of France to try and learn almost every critical moment of the Tour de France. He's riding a splendid individual time trial here. He started 2 minutes on the road behind Ivan Basso. He's already wiped out that, and he's still extending his advantage. And we're still waiting for the arrival of Andreas Kloden.
He can't be far now, but I'll tell you, he's riding very close to Ullrich, is Andreas Kloden. He's certainly not being beaten. Armstrong chose to catch this man at a 12.5 kilometer check, where his lead was exactly 2 minutes. The difference when he left the start house, 2 minutes behind. And Armstrong now continues. It must be a wonderful feeling. He knows now he has no competition because he's caught the man nearest to him. He is gaining all of the way. He knows he's got the best time on the road. Here is Andreas Kloden now heading up to the finish, and he is catching Mancebo, and he's wiping out the Spanish rider.
Well, Mancebo was certainly not putting in fast times out on the open road. Phil, this is an unbelievable crowd here, though, at the summit of the Alpe d'Huez. We are looking at a great challenge here. Let's not forget, Jan Ullrich has posted the fastest time in a time of 40 minutes and 42 seconds, ahead of Lance Armstrong's own teammate, Jose Acevedo, who crossed the line in 41.26. But I think we could be looking at the second time here coming from Andreas Kloden, and the man who disappeared from the top level of the sport for 2 or 3 years is right back now.
And his biggest rival for a place in Paris is going to be Jan Ullrich, his team captain. Kloden is now fighting his own team for a top finish, because with the collapse of Mancebo here, who's being caught for 2 minutes, Jan Ullrich will probably slot into 4th place now overall. Kloden will hold 3rd. And there's surely the incentive there for Kloden to outsprint. No. 2nd at the finish, though, and only 40 seconds behind Ullrich. Ullrich rode virtually the same climb all the way up.
Well, that's two good rides by the T-Mobile team. Now Armstrong can't be that far away. He's already gone past Ivan Basso. He will be the next man to come to the finishing line. And this unbelievable cadence that he's adopted since he survived testicular cancer is what has allowed him to become one of the best climbers in the world. He picks his way around that corner there. See how he used the extremity of the corner to make sure he didn't lose any momentum at all as he notches up even further that gear ratio over his. He is now looking up to see the red flag in front of him. 1 kilometer to go. That should take him around about 1 minute and 15 seconds on the slopes of the climb here, because he's reached finally the flattest part of the course.
Well, the best time is Jan Ullrich. We thought 40 minutes would do it. It's 40:42. It could be that 39 minutes, a very long one, will actually decide this climb, and that is incredible. And the bad news is there will be some riders eliminated if that's the time he does.
If that is the time that he stops the clock, there will be one or two riders, I feel, eliminated from the bike race here this afternoon. If not, it will be a very close call, and especially for riders like David Bramati, who's posted the slowest time of the event here at around about 54 minutes. But that's not a concern of this man in the yellow jersey. His concern today is that once again he's opening up his advantage over every one of his competitors and rivals in the Tour de France 2004.
Lance Armstrong today has confirmed he is the new man on the block. He is the only rider to have won the Tour de France 6 times. He now has to ride to Paris, stay out of trouble. But knowing the attitude of Armstrong, he'll gain more time on the road at every possible opportunity. Here he comes now. I said it earlier, the majority of this crowd in the straight, I'm sure, is American, and they will welcome the arrival of Lance Armstrong, the king of the Tour de France, yet again. Listen to the crowd. They are cheering him to the line. He is going to beat 40 minutes for the climb. Absolutely, he's seen he can do it as well. Every second counts in this man's life as Armstrong races to the line now. Ullrich is well beaten and still second as Armstrong hits the line this time. He will do it in 39 minutes and 41 seconds at 23.44 kilometers an hour, 15 miles an hour.
That is unbelievable up the slopes of the Alpe d'Huez. And you know what, Phil? That is almost exactly the same time gap as 2001, where he beat Jan Ullrich by a minute. Let's not forget, we still have to wait for the second man overall to come to the line. He is finding a little bit of more energy to come up there. 8th time for Ivan Basso. It's not a bad time at all,
no,
42.04. But he's lost himself almost 2.5 minutes. But there is the man who dominated the Alpe d'Huez here this afternoon, Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong has done the job like you would not believe. He'll need moments to recover from this as they try to keep the rush of the press away from him and rub him down. A few deep breaths is required now. Lance Armstrong, in winning his 19th stage in the Tour de France, he increases his overall lead convincingly in the Tour de France. He had one rival before the start of the day. Now he has no rivals except the race itself on the road to Paris.
Absolutely remarkable. Look at this face. He was probably looking up at the clock on the finishing line and wanting to get himself inside of that 40 minutes. Everybody said today that the time would be around about the 40-minute mark, but he wanted to make sure that his time stopped at 39 minutes, and it did. 39 minutes and 41 seconds. And that average speed that he posted there, I think, is going to be very close to a new record for the ascent of Alpe d'Huez. What a brilliant performance. But Phil, this performance, the foundations of the performance here were laid months ago in the month of May and the month of June, when he came here on 2 occasions to look at this course and to look at this climb specifically.
61 seconds he beat Ullrich by. Does that tell you something? He won the Tour last year over Ullrich by 61 seconds. And it's all here on Alpe d'Huez.
Absolutely remarkable. The energy and the power that he was still dissipating at the end is absolutely remarkable. He wanted to stamp his authority. And you were right, Phil. You know, in this man's life, every second does count.
Yeah, it does. Armstrong has had a perfect day on the mountain he's grown to love, and he's won his 19th stage. We look down on Alpe d'Huez now. There's 1 million people on this climb. I don't know who counted them, but I think we could have all have told them. As we look up the slopes of the fabled mountain of Alpe d'Huez, it has revealed one Lance Armstrong as the man who will go to Paris and will become the first rider ever to win his 6th Tour de France. As I say,